I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. Happy that the weather has been good this week and it's Thursday. So
I know. We're heading into a long holiday weekend.
we are. I didn't even realize that. I thought Labor Day weekend was next week.
Labor Day's Monday. Can you believe it?
It is.
Oh my goodness. Well, we are so excited you're here. And I am going to set this up for everyone because we're doing something super cool, I think.
Yeah.
We are doing Throwback Thursdays. So for the next couple weeks, we are going to highlight the first set of guests who helped us launch this series. And Elysha was our very, very first guest. So we are so excited that after all these months, that you are able to join us today. So thank you again, Elysha.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I can't believe it's been a few months since Kick It by Eve launched this community, and so much happened since. So I'm so happy you're doing Thursday conversation.
I know. So it'll be nice, now that the community has really grown, it'll be great that our expanded community will hear your story. So anyway, we kick it off, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Elysha Vega. I'm originally from New Jersey, where I grew up most of my life in the suburbs a few years ago. And growing up in New York, I came to develop a appreciation for diversity. And it's something I really took for granted until I left the city for the first time. But growing up in the city, we're also exposed to a lot of opportunity gaps and witnessed a lot of social issues firsthand. So I took that and decided that I could devote my career to doing work in the social impact space. And went degree in planning, concentrating in educational policy, and really thought that impact was working in the nonprofit sector, and came to realize through a couple of internships that there is actually this whole world of corporate citizenship and community relations that opened up my eyes to all of the assets that companies had available to really devote in the social impact space.
Yes, Elysha, you know what? We're getting feedback that you're coming in and out.
Oh, sure.
So we want to make sure that everyone can hear you. So, yeah. Okay.
I lowered my volume.
Okay.
Let me see. Is this better?
Yeah, it sounds.
Can everybody hear me better? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah. So, going back to talking about social impact, that's actually where I devoted the last 10 years of my career, working with a highly visible Fortune 500 company in the community relations space, and just really learning about and things like employee engagement and how to leverage and use corporate assets to really drive major social impacts in alignment with what business priorities are.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, right? Because the work that you've done and in the space that you're in is really at the forefront of so many companies now, right?
Right.
So based on your experience and your expertise, what do you think companies need to be thinking about when they're saying we're going to donate $10 million, for a social justice platform, or we're going to donate $25 million to, help improve the visibility of Black-owned businesses? Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts in regards to that?
Yeah, so the CSR space took a major shift around the time that COVID-19 really hit the United States very hard. And that was I think I'm getting feedback again. That was the area of social justice and the need to leverage social impact work to fighting social injustice that's existed for decades. And so the first major step that companies can take is taking a look at themselves internally and taking a look at hiring practices and what their employee base looks like. You hear all the time that there's a need for diversity, and a lot of companies have equal employment opportunity, but what does that really mean? And so are you passing up people of color for promotional opportunities if they're highly qualified to bring somebody in externally? And so that's a really important question for companies to ask. And that's a great starting point. Work with your HR companies, work with your HR teams to take a look at data that have, and also take a look at data that's available nationally to look at what hiring trends are. I think it's not a secret that social injustice has been something that's affected the POC community, people of color community, for many, many years. The other thing that you can do as a business leader is to take a look at what your marketing assets are and what ability you have to really make a stand. Take a look at the Nike campaign. Nike teamed up with Colin Kaepernick at the start of this whole thing for the Don't Do It campaign. Everybody knows Nike for their Just Do It slogan, and they really took the timing and opportunity to team up with somebody who really was a stand-up person in talking about social injustices, and created a campaign that's so memorable months later. The Rite Aid Foundation, Rite Aid was really at the forefront of fighting the pandemic when COVID-19 hit, and they created created a $2 million impact investment fund through their foundation to team up with United Way and other nonprofit organizations that really can fight injustices. I think it's important for companies to take a look at what their strengths are, and if you have resources financially, but not necessarily the knowledge, partnerships is the best way to really go in and addressing this. And the other thing is to take a look at your employee talent. I think a lot of times people take pro bono talent for granted, but if you have counsel or attorneys on hand that are willing to give pro bono support for social justice clinics, that's a great starting point. You can also leverage your financial talent. You can work with your accountants to see where can you make charitable investments that are really going to make an impact and really make the dollars matter.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to mention too is it's an election year, and I think it's really important for people to remember to register to vote if you haven't already, regardless of where you stand on the spectrum. It's very important to just get out there, get to the polling site and vote in every election that you possibly can, because our leaders have a lot to do with the laws that are made to help address a lot of the issues that we have.
Yeah, no, that's actually great. I love it. Great insights. And when you think about, what's on the horizon, just in terms of, diversity and inclusion and social justice, where do you think companies need to, focus their pulse? So it's great just in terms about starting internally. And I guess I'll go back to the Nike example that you just used. Nike told a story that it doesn't matter where you sit. They told a story, that video dropped, and the next day their sales were up 31%, right? Yeah. So they had the pulse on really that emotional hook. So from your perspective, what's the pulse point that the companies need to focus on? The pulse point is you have to stay in tune and involved with what's happening today. And right now, racism is the biggest pulse point that there is. The conversation really started several years ago with the Trayvon Martin shooting, with the George Floyd incident. Nothing major came of that. But now this year, something happened. There was a trigger point that happened that really hit a button with a lot of people. And companies did not have an option to sit back and not issue a statement anymore. It wasn't even about making a statement. It was about taking a stance. And this had gone on long enough. People wanted action. People wanted resolution. We had a lot of civil unrest. And so making sure that you're in tune with that. And when you do make a statement, not sounding tone deaf. You have to make it about the issue at hand. You have to make it about the people, and you can't make it about yourself. And when you do that, trust me, consumers were watching. I saw when Blackout Tuesday happened, and that was when a lot of people decided to pause on social media to really sit back and elevate Black Lives Matter voices. People were really in tune with what companies were taking a stance, and people were saying it's not okay for you to use models, people of color, for your ads and for your marketing materials, and not be able to take a stand and stand with them in terms of these issues that matter. And so really doing that made an impact, and I think that companies' sales were affected. People were willing to support companies who were actually making a statement and taking a stand, and that still stands true today. Yeah, no, I love it. It's very interesting. I mean, the folks in your area of the business have such an amazing opportunity now because companies are taking action and because consumers are watching, it's really a great time, you know, as you look to the future for experts like yourself to be in a position to really, really make an impact and really, you know, make true change. Not that change wasn't happening before. I just think that now the action, the taking action has been elevated, where now we're really truly going to see real change.
Yeah, I think that the biggest point here to walk away with is leaders have to be able to lead through the crisis and not just manage the response. Managing a response is a one-time statement that you make on social media. You know, we stand with you, but it really is about taking a look at what are the long-term steps that you can take as a business, as an organization, to implement that kind of change.
Yeah, amazing. So, quick, one last question that I'll ask you, and then, you know, we can move on.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on sports, specifically the NBA and the WNBA, being the leaders in regards to really, you know, using their platform to, you know, to move this movement forward and to evoke change? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So I think that the reception with the NBA and WNBA taking a stance now is very different than the reception of what happened in the NFL a couple of years ago with players taking a knee. And I think that it was too politicized back when the NFL started to do this, and Colin Kaepernick became, you know, pinpointed and isolated. And even though players really tried to take a stand, I think that the NFL was really concerned with their viewership. They were losing viewers, and therefore they were losing advertising dollars, and it had a very strong negative impact on their bottom line. But today, the NBA, I mean, players themselves were taking a stand, and when they made that decision to walk off the court and not play, it made a very big statement that we are not tolerating this anymore. So I really admire what they did. They are highly visible. They have a really big platform. Everybody's tuning into the games because everybody was waiting for seasons to start again. And so their timing was on point. And I think that they did the right thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I'm also, I think, you know, we talked about it on Tuesday with our guests, just in regards to how the NBA and the WNBA are leading their, you know, they're the leading voices. And it's interesting to see how Major League Baseball has responded. And now, you know, I'm keeping my eye like a hawk to the NFL, because I'm just, you know, I'm just curious to see how they're going to come out of the gate. But anyway, so I know it's been a few months since we talked, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. There's a new brand that you are, you know, that you absolutely love, that I would like to talk about, and it's Posh Peanut. Did I get it right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay,
You got it right.
Okay, so can we talk a little bit about Posh Peanut?
Yeah, sure. So I think that in times of uncertainty, you really have to embrace the season that you're in. And for me right now, I'm in the season of being a stay-at-home mom. It was not by choice. But it happened, and here I am. And I found that human interaction and connecting with people was something I really missed when I wasn't working anymore. And so I found this brand that had an online community. The brand is Posh Peanut, and I had discovered them about a year ago when I was pregnant with my daughter, and decided to buy some of their really beautiful clothing for my baby. And I had a space to connect with other moms and talk about the different things that we were experiencing in this season of change. It's one thing to become a new mom, but it's really scary to become a new mom in the middle of a pandemic and to be cut off from the rest of the world when you're in a situation where you're not working anymore. And so really, really excited that after so many months of being involved with their community, I was recently asked to be a moderator for their online Facebook group. And so I'm one of 4. The community is about 20,000 strong right now. And really just tapping into curating, making sure that we're curating the right conversations, giving moms a very safe space to come and share pictures of their babies and stories that's also really personal and connected as well.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. And I definitely know that we have mom and dads that are part of our community. And I want to shout out to Latasha, who just had her second baby. So congratulations, Latasha.
Well,
does Posh Peanut have boy clothing?
They do.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Latasha, that one's for you.
Yeah.
No, I think their stuff is awesome too. So, and it's also interesting that I love that in this, I'll coin your words, seasons of change, how you're making a connection in a whole new, environment, because you're adapting to what's happening. So kudos to you. I love it.
Thank you. There's something really special about this opportunity too. So I came across actually a really great infographic. It was this morning on the Boss Lady Network on Instagram. And it talked about the different seasons that you can be in, everything from your comfort zone all the way to your growth zone. And one thing in the middle is the learning zone. I had very limited experience in social media outside of my own personal management of my profiles. And so being part of this community is also giving me a chance to upskill. And I think that it's really important when these opportunities come to us, regardless of if they're paid or unpaid, if you're getting a chance to make yourself better and also give back, then that's something that's really great for you to tap into and say yes to.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's awesome. And who knows, maybe this is the universe taking you into this world where maybe you can do social impact or corporate social responsibility for that brand. So I'm going to stay close to you because I want to hear more about that, to see where that opportunity leads. So kudos to you.
Yeah.
So based on all of your experience, what would you share are your 3 career insights with our audience today?
So the first one I want to start with is that it's important to invest in yourself. A couple of months ago, I decided to take a plunge and invest in a social impact bootcamp where I got to connect with other leaders outside of my network, my business network, and really revamp my online presence in my LinkedIn profile, my resume, and my storytelling to make sure that it was telling the story of where I've been and where I'd like to go next. And, at a time when I was unemployed, it was a little scary to make an investment like that, but it was very worthwhile because the people who have been reaching out to me and connecting with me on LinkedIn has actually been amazing ever since I made that change. So I think that's the first thing, is to really take an opportunity to invest in yourself, because the return will be so much more than the expense you put out. The second thing is to make sure that you stay connected and in tune. If you're in a situation where you're not working, that doesn't mean you don't have to stay connected. In June, I decided to set up these Zoom meetings and coffee and conversation with people who were in my network that I knew, just to talk about how they were doing personally and what was going on. And those personal conversations have continued, and found that there was a common interest to upskill, common interest to stay connected. And just because I'm not currently active, in a full-time job, doesn't mean that I have to stop following what industry trends are if this is something and a space that I hope to continue to move back into someday.
Right.
And then the other thing is to give yourself grace. We're in a very challenging time right now where everybody is basically working remotely, most people working remotely for the foreseeable future. And so making sure that you set up a safe space in your home to work and to focus on that's separate from where you spend your living quarters. Because I think when you mix the two, you can go a little stir crazy and then you stop functioning at your best self. And so, whether it's creating a little nook in the corner of your living room or your kitchen, or if you don't have an office space, it's just so important to make sure that you isolate a space like that and give yourself grace working through this transition.
Yeah, that's awesome. And now, bonus question for today is, what is your superpower?
Oh, my superpower. Just because this is naturally the season I'm in, I'm going to say my superpower is being a mom. I don't think moms, especially working moms, get enough credit for everything that they do. And right now, being responsible for another life and raising that little human who is my world, that is definitely a superpower that to me is so special and near and dear to my heart and will remain a part of me forever.
Yeah,
that and kindness. I think spreading kindness also is another one, and paying it forward. And I noticed that when you put out kindness to the universe and you pay it forward, it's paid back to you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Okay, paying it forward. Okay. There is, I want to make sure that we don't miss any other questions. There is a little, on the little question mark here, I'm going to tap it, and I'm like terrified that if I tap it, I'm gonna lose you. But I hear that this is someone's asking a question, so hang on.
Okay.
Oh no. Okay. No. Okay. Okay. I didn't lose you. All right. So, Elysha, just, thank you so much. Look, I want to acknowledge, because I think that this is really important. This community started on April 6th, and you were the first guest. You are the one who helped me ignite this. So I just want to once again acknowledge and thank you so much for, going in there with me and saying, okay, I will do it. Before we go, someone is asking, what is the name of the boot camp you did?
Yep, it's social impact boot camp by Careers for Social Impact. I can actually write it in the comments.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah. Yep.
So just want to acknowledge and just thank you for, taking a lunch with me a couple months ago. And I really appreciate it. And I also appreciate you coming back in as, Throwback Thursday.
Definitely.
For those of you that joined after we kicked it off, today is our first Throwback Thursday. We will be featuring the first few guests who helped kick off this community a few months ago. And because I think it's important to have our, expanded community hear their stories. So thank you very much. Elysha, thank you for your time.
Definitely.
Everyone, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful and safe Labor Day weekend, and we'll see everyone here next Tuesday.
All right.
See you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.